Hello, and welcome to the Zero Waste Life Hack Podcast. Today, I'm joined by my lovely co-host, DJ extraordinaire, Michelle Sinclair.
Hello.
Hello. And today, we have brought a very special guest into the show. We have been waiting forever to get her into the studio. Dianna Cohen, co-founder of the Plastic Pollution Coalition. Thank you for being here today.
Stoked to be here.
We're stoked.
And so each episode, we speak about one different item that we use in our lives and more sustainable alternatives for them. So today's episode is going to be about cups specifically.
Cups. And I'm going to start by saying, Dianna and Sofia, you guys are the two people I know that always have a stainless steel cup with them, no matter what.
It's true.
And it's an inspiration.
I think so too. And again, it's one of these things, the reason why we chose this object is because we don't really realize how many we use until you can see it all together in the big picture, right? So when you think about your morning routine, you've got your coffee, your iced tea, then you've got lunch, then you go out to dinner. So one cup may not seem like a big deal, but at the end of the day, you're probably going through three of them. And it's not just the cup. It includes the lid. It includes a straw. So it's an
cap
item.
If you're getting water or a Snapple.
multiple components to it. Or if you get a coffee as well, you can sometimes even get that little plug thing so that it doesn't leak on your way to transporting it a block away, you know? So
You mean the plastic plug?
yes, which obviously needs a redesign. But yeah, it's about these things that we use so much and we don't think about where they end up, right? We assume that a plastic cup will just end up getting recycled, right? You just throw it in the recycling bin. Or better yet, if you buy a compostable cup, it's just going to get composted, right? It's compostable. So we're here to talk about all the different details pertaining to the cup. And
And it's so important, the cup. I mean, the idea of what a cup is, or like if you think about hundreds of years ago, a cup, what it would have been, you would have probably made your cup and carried it with you, and it would have been your cup.
mm-hmm.
You know, it was so important. You couldn't just go out and get cups anywhere.
Or chalice.
Well, I think 50 years ago in a lot of parts of the world,
Right.
a cup would be something
That's
natural
true.
that was made from ceramic or glass, even probably 20 years ago.
Oh
in
my
some
gosh.
places.
So
Copper,
depressing.
brass.
Stainless steel, glass, ceramic.
Right. So we're talking about cups the way we use them today. Single-use plastic cups at the restaurant, when you get to-go orders, your coffee. But back in the day, before we had these single-use cups, there used to be public drinking fountains. And a lot of times these public drinking fountains would have like a ladle or a cup that everybody kind of used. And so this spread disease a lot, right? And so
Did it?
Yeah. Well,
You're talking about hundreds of years ago.
not even.
Ladling, right, sharing a cup. Before.
Are we talking about
1900s.
Okay, 1900s.
Early 1900s, right?
Okay.
So you'd have like a public
1900s.
drinking area and then everybody would share the same cup and put it down. And so single-use plastic cups were introduced as a way to avoid the spread of germs because they're single-use, but they weren't plastic. They were paper. So paper is renewable. It could easily biodegrade, or trees are renewable. Not it has to be processed still. But it was this idea that it was still very much nature-based, whereas now the items that we're using, yes, oil could be considered natural, but it's still petroleum and it's very toxic, the whole process and everything about it. And another reason why I wanted to talk about cups is because I saw this image by one of my favorite artists, Chris Jordan. And he did this piece that showed how many plastic cups the airline industry uses. Just the
Oh my
airline
gosh.
industry. So
Well,
we're not even
I
talking
think it was
restaurant.
every 6 hours.
It was, yeah.
It was every 6 hours or in a day or something like that for that piece.
Yeah, and I think the numbers like from 10 years ago was 1 million cups basically every 6 hours.
What?
Yeah. So how many hours are in a day?
Wow.
And that's just one industry.
That's just one industry.
That's just
insane.
That doesn't include the coffee cups, right?
Although in all fairness, when I was a kid on airlines, they used real plates and real cutlery and real
Oh.
glasses. And they were
Yeah.
small, but they used real ones. And if you got up to get some water, there was a kind of little paper uncoated cup that you could pull down and get some water in it.
Mm. Yeah, they were the ones that you could like pull apart too. Remember those little cups?
Those were cool.
Yeah.
But Dianna, so we wanted to take it back to you a little bit and have you tell us about how you got started in this movement and battle against plastic. And I know that originally you used plastic bags as a medium and to kind of bring that awareness, but can you tell us a little bit more about what you do?
Sure. Do what I do? Well, my story is I studied biology and art at UCLA here in Los Angeles, and believe me, I would have dual majored if it was possible at the time, but it was not. They wouldn't let me into any of the classes in either department when I belonged to the other one, so it wasn't possible at the time. So I have an interest in science, and I finally transferred to the art department after a couple years down in South Campus. And I started making work after I graduated from college out of plastic bags that I was cutting up and sewing back together. I'd originally started with brown paper bags from the market, cutting those, reassembling them, adding sewing as a drawing element, so stitches. And at some point I added a piece of a plastic bag to one that had a botanical image of a plant printed on it and the name in Latin. And I just looked at the piece and I had one of those like aha moments. Plastic is such an interesting material. You know, it very much says this was made by a human. It's not something that you come across in nature. You don't really see plastic. And so I started making work out of plastic bags, really celebrating the material, the colors, the shapes, the font that I would find on them, the patterns. It's transparent, it's translucent, it's, opaque. I can layer things. I can treat it like watercolors. I could do all of these things with it. And I also began to take those pieces out of the frames. They started out being framed pieces and then became much larger, two-dimensional, three-dimensional pieces, sculptural pieces. And again, was really celebrating the material. At the same time, some of my pieces, after about 8 years, some of the bags and some of my pieces started to fissure and break apart. And I got really excited, and I thought that it meant that the plastic was organic and ephemeral like us. So I started looking into that and realized that wasn't what was happening. It was just some of the bags, depending on the chemical additives that were used to make the plastic, were breaking into smaller pieces. So so I got upset about that because I grew up here in Los Angeles and spent a lot of time swimming in the Pacific Ocean and also traveling to other places as well. And just in the course of my lifetime was seeing more and more plastic in the ocean, in the sea, grabbing it when I'd see it, tying it to the side of my bikini, coming out, looking for a garbage can or something to put it in. I wasn't really differentiating, is this recyclable, is it not recyclable, but just trying to get it out of the water. And just in the course of my life, and really in the last 30 years, I've seen such a huge increase of plastic garbage in the water and washing up on beaches that it just brought me around to then hearing Captain Charles Moore, who created Algalita Marine Research Institute, finding Charlie, discovering him, this crazy but awesome, really thoughtful, intelligent, handsome, charismatic man saying, hey, people, we have a huge problem. We are creating a garbage patch out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, and we need to do something about this. And so my initial idea as an artist, being a visual artist, was, wow, I've got to get a boat and so 2 decommissioned fishing trawlers and saying like a cold molding machine and a chipper and go out to the Great Pacific Garbage Patch because I thought what people think when they hear about it. It's an island. I thought it's a destination that you could travel to. And so I came up with this whole plan to go out and do that. I started gathering friends and colleagues. I started building an advisory board to go out and do it, and I had a phone call with the Google Foundation, and I was going to make it happen. I was going to figure it out. I was talking to these brothers in Utah who had a cold molding machine, a chipper that could chip up to 50% organic matter. So I was really excited because I'd heard that there was life growing on this plastic, almost like artificial reef in the ocean. And all these things are true, but there is no island.
True.
Yeah,
well, there wasn't when I got started.
That's how I think of it. So I'm here as the person that's not as knowledgeable, learning, like maybe some of our listeners are, and I think I just kind of learned that the other day, even though you kind of like think like, oh, that sounds crazy. Like maybe there is not really an island. I just became an ambassador for the 5 dryers.
Awesome.
And the first email they send you is like, by the way, the island's not an island. Go to this website and get your facts.
Right. That's great.
So I think a lot of people think that because it's a visual image. When people say plastic island, it's a strong image.
Right.
Yeah.
It worked, I guess, because it got a lot of people thinking.
I actually think what really worked to communicate the severity of the problem were artists' communications, so visual images, photographs, and films.
Before you move on, did you ever go out on this mission?
No, I aborted the idea of the mission.
Because I like the idea of you like out there on this boat collecting plastic to make art.
Coming back with these cool objects.
Yeah, I was going to make art out of it. I wanted to raise awareness. I was talking to all my friends who are professional surfers because they're really the first people that joined me as advisors, and friends who were musicians and actors and actresses, and just seeing if I could rally like a cool group of people to go out to this thing and raise awareness about it. So that was my original idea. And then in talking to people like Captain Moore, I realized this was literally a fool's task. This is to clean it up would be a drop in the bucket relative to how much is being produced every day in the United States and around the world, manufactured and produced, and to how much is getting out into the ocean, and that I needed to back up. So I took a break from my idea. I backed up. I spent some time thinking about it. I had by then gathered a group of people together who were my advisors, and I met some other folks, and we decided to create the Plastic Pollution Coalition together. So it took us 2.5 days of hashing it back and forth all day and all night to figure out that we actually just wanted to call it what it is. It's plastic. It's plastic pollution when it gets into the environment and into the ocean. And we are going to put together a coalition, which is an alliance of as many groups who would like to join us, and individuals, and businesses are welcome as well, who are working either on this issue or to measurably reduce their plastic footprint. So that was the concept behind creating the coalition. And we had our soft launch in October of 2009.
Yeah, congratulations on 10
We're turning
years.
10 this year. Thanks. And slowly in the first year, in 2010, we grew to about 25 groups and businesses. 5 Dryers and Algalita are both 2 of the first groups that were part of the coalition. And we've slowly grown. So now we're over 800 groups, and we have about 150, it's probably more than that now, notable coalition members that include, people who are thought leaders or influencers.
I'm a member.
This is when you interject the applaud, the round of applause.
Yay! Well, and I like the fact that you called it plastic pollution, because it's similar to smog, right? In the sense that we cannot clean up smog by taking a giant vacuum and sucking all the bad air pollution out of the air. It's like we can't go into the ocean and suck this plastic out. It really has to do with stopping it at the source. So while a lot of companies are being very proactive, they're listening to consumers and actually changing the way they operate their business. We do need certain laws at a certain point to make sure that the standards or the rates of production are lowered or something. It can't just be voluntary, right? If we had waited in the 90s for for cars to stop polluting as much or whatever, air quality standards to be adjusted, we'd be choking right now. So there has to be some sort of regulation. And I know some people don't like that, but I think that's where we are at this point in time with plastic specifically.
Well, and I also feel like, the health and protecting the environment, and the environment is everything on the planet, and it's us. Yeah. Protecting that, it's not a partisan issue. This is not a partisan issue. I'm sorry, but, Republicans, Democrats, Independents, Green Party, whoever you are, you need to have clean water to drink and clean air to breathe.
Yes.
All people deserve that and deserve to have that right. And it's interesting because plastic pollution disproportionately impacts people in lower income communities across the United States and around the world. And it does it on the entire chain, from extraction and war through manufacturing and production, through use. If you live in a food desert or if you live in a lower income community, you don't have choice when you go to buy food.
True.
You can't say, oh, do you have that in glass? Because
Yeah.
it's not
Yeah.
available to you in glass per se. And then immediately it's a waste issue and a waste management issue.
Right.
And a lot of what we're seeing is that industry and multinational corporations and corporations have no problem saying, well, and at the end of life, we use a model which is waste to energy, which sounds really great. Waste to energy sounds great. What the heck does that mean? What does that mean? Because a lot of times it means incineration.
Yes.
And when you
Oh.
incinerate something,
Yeah.
again, you're impacting people in poorer communities because they live across the street from the incineration plant, and you're polluting their air, and you're releasing dioxins and particulate matter that's poisonous for everybody. So it's a most people don't even know that plastic is primarily made from petroleum.
They
That's
don't.
the carbon
Yeah,
source.
I've learned that just from sitting here. We're on, sitting here in doing our first season. I didn't know.
Yeah. I mean, you can make plastic out of plants as well. You can make it out of other carbon sources, which would probably ultimately be better than making it out of petroleum, which is a finite
True.
material. But I mean, there are scary things happening right now. I mean, I just was reading about this a couple weeks ago. The whole Ohio River Valley and parts of Appalachia that were really suffering with the decline in the coal industry are now being rebooted and revamped to produce plastic with processing plants for ethylene and fracking and all kinds of stuff. So it's going to poison everybody again. And I think that people who live there are probably so grateful to have work.
Yeah.
But at the same time, is it fair to create factories and companies where you're making work that is toxic for the people that are employed by your company?
It's
I don't
so
know.
crazy because for me, I'm like, well, isn't it a simple thing? You just don't make the plastic. Instead of making plastic you turn it into something else, and it could be the same company in the Appalachia Mountains doing the same, giving them the same work, but they're just making it out of a different material.
True. Or there could be
But,
like a
I
shift
mean,
in
Obviously,
values.
big business is big business.
Well,
so
I
what are
mean,
you gonna-
also it doesn't.
sounds easy for me to say it sitting in this seat.
Well, I mean, it doesn't matter which carbon source you use. If you
Right.
add the chemicals that plasticize the carbon
Yes.
material to it, there's mainly two groups of chemicals. There's biphenyls, like, hi, this is BPA free. I can talk about that too.
Ooh.
But anyway, you use biphenyls and you use phthalates. And biphenyls, I'm not a scientist, but biphenyls are used to make the plastic transparent or translucent, and I believe like rigid, and to shape it and form it. And the phthalates are used to make it soft and kind of rubbery. So if you have a kid's toy that's not actually
Like a rubber duck.
well, like a rubber ducky. But if you have a kid's toy and it's not made out of real rubber from a rubber tree, then it is made out of plastic, generally petroleum-based plastic, and it's heavily phthalated. And the problem with those two groups of chemicals is that they've been linked to all different kinds of health problems because they function like endocrine disruptors, and micro amounts we can absorb them through our hands. Thermal receipts, receipt paper is made with bisphenol
That's
A.
another episode.
I know these are
Our
like
podcast.
the receipt paper too is the next one that's bumming me
Yeah.
out because I just learned about that too.
Oh, well, can I just
can't
tell you
remember.
something? I know it's another episode, but so Dr. Pete Myers, who's one of our scientific advisors.
I just heard him speak at your lunch.
Oh,
the
yeah,
other
yeah,
day.
yeah.
Mhm.
So Pete said that he had a student ask him when he was giving a talk about if it was okay to burn receipt paper. And Pete said, well, I don't recommend breathing the fumes from that if you're going to burn it. And then another guy in the class said, well, actually, he uses it to roll joints. And Pete said, I don't know what my reaction was, but my
Oh
eyes
my
got really big. And he
gosh.
said, I don't recommend doing
just
that.
smoking it.
You're
straight
gonna
up.
die.
Well, it's not that. It's just you're dosing your body with basically with
Oh.
estrogen.
Yeah.
And you
wow.
absorb it very quickly into your bloodstream through your hands, through your skin, if you're smoking it, which is insane. So you can absorb it. And so what happens is when we are exposed to these chemicals, either through our food packaging or, microwaving something in plastic, and you may be exposed to it that way because it'll leach out, or a hot beverage in something that's plastic. Those chemicals have been linked to lower sexual function, sterility, infertility, to diabetes and obesity, which we're basically having epidemics of in the United States, and to breast cancer, prostate cancer, and brain cancer.
Wow.
So there's a definite correlation there with the impacts on human health, not just what we're seeing as far as like litter on the beaches or like marine entanglement or things like that. Like we ourselves are actually suffering because of this explosion of plastics into our everyday lives. I mean, it's in everything. It's in everything.
Well, I wanted to, because this was another thing I literally just read recently. Actually, no, it's a campaign that our city of Los Angeles is doing on the recycling trucks. They're posting big pictures and they're pointing and saying, this is recyclable, this is not. So they had like a pizza box and it was like, you can recycle the top, can't recycle the bottom because the pizza was greasy. And then the big one for me was the coffee cup.
Oh, yeah.
And it said, I'm the kind of person that goes and gets a coffee if I don't have a cup with me, which I often don't. I'm still trying to get in the habit. And I will refuse the lid. I'll be like, I won't get the lid because I can't recycle it, blah, blah, blah. I'm not even thinking about the health issues. And then this picture said, lid recyclable, coffee cup not recyclable. And that just blew my mind because my husband is always like, get the lid, are you crazy, you're gonna spill everywhere. And I was like, it's plastic, blah blah blah. And so when we saw that together, he's like, you can't recycle the cup. And I was like, dang it, I'm bringing my my coffee cup everywhere. And that is because I'll let you guys break it down.
Because
why it's not recyclable.
Because it has a certain percentage of plastic in it.
And that I never knew because you think
Even
you're
though it
getting a
looks like
paper cup.
Yeah.
But let's talk about it because it's good.
Okay.
I think it's good not to have a lid on it if you had to get something like that because in general, the lids are made out of compressed polystyrene. And compressed polystyrene can give off a neurotoxin. So that's bon appetit.
It gives off the neurotoxin in general or when it's hit by the hot coffee or tea or whatever?
That's a great question, and I am not a scientist, so I don't know. But I mean,
we just know it's there. And
I can pretend to be one.
Yeah, but no, so listen. I mean, I can I go back to another thought for a second and then bring us back? Earlier, we were talking about what is the thing that's really helped people understand that there's a problem out in the ocean, not just with the northeastern Pacific garbage patch, the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, but multiple garbage patches, and this that we're finding plastic in trawl samples from oceans and seas around the world, microplastics, etc. And actually, Marcus Erickson from Five Gyres calls it smog. He calls it plastic smog in the same way that you made that reference. But I think some of the most pivotal communications that have helped people understand the problem better are Susan Middleton and Chris Jordan's photographs of the dead adolescent albatross carcasses from Midway Atoll in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. And these birds have died in situ. And then the body begins to break down and go back to the earth. And the entire bolus of the stomach is, the stomach is just packed with
lighters,
plastic.
caps.
It's a lot of recognizable stuff. I mean, and you wonder, it makes you turn around and say, hey, Coca-Cola, what's your bottle cap doing in the stomach of a dead bird in the middle of the Pacific Ocean?
Oh, man.
So
that's really sad.
and toothbrushes, barrettes.
Everything.
That was very informative, and it's not enough time. I could talk to you for another hour, but we'll take a quick break and come back with our simple life hacks just to make it more positive and uplifting because we can do stuff for it. Hey, Zero Waste Life Hack Podcast listener. Did you know that we have a hashtag you can follow? Yep, you can follow along, share your life hacks, and we'll share ours. Look for the hashtag Zero Waste Life Hacker and become a part of the community. For more information and solutions, go to www.zerowasteco.com.
So you mentioned that Dianna and I are the two people that that always carry a cup with them.
Yep.
A reusable
A
cup.
reusable cup, exactly. Yeah.
Well, I think also because you guys have most of the time it's the stainless steel cup, which is so cute.
Mm-hmm.
I have some
At
ceramic
bars.
ones too.
Just like, hey, got my cup.
Hey, did you know that when you go to a coffee shop, you can also, if you're going to have your coffee in, you can always say to them, I'm going to have this coffee here. Would it be possible to have it in a real cup? And a lot of
Yes.
them have them up in the cabinet. They just don't have a lot. I
Even
know
Starbucks.
Coffee Bean and Starbucks do.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You have to ask, though. But now they're really into selling all their cups,
Yeah.
selling reusable cups to
Yeah.
people. But I think it's really important, and we should let everybody know right now that if you bring your own, if you invest in a reusable cup, preferably non-plastic, which will be better for your health, and you go regularly to work from a coffee shop, most of them will give you a small discount every time
At
you buy
least
a
10
coffee
cents,
in
right?
it. Mm-hmm.
So at the end of the week, that's a lot of money,
It's a
especially.
free coffee eventually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is a free
Yeah.
coffee like every week or so. So it's really, really worth it as an
Yeah.
investment if you're trying to be a more thrifty person. And also if you don't want to create waste or you're going for a life that is like less impactful to the earth and to using up resources, then carrying your own cup is really great.
Yeah.
And also, I would consider a mason jar to be like the equivalent of a cup, right?
Oh,
because
yeah.
without the lid. you can
Mason
still
jars are
drink out of it.
great.
Yes, because that you can use also for like your food to go, right? So if you've got like extra rice or something, you don't have to get that container. And then the great thing about mason jars too is that you can also freeze them, right? So if there was like a nice coffee or something, like it's multi-use. And I know that sometimes glass isn't like very easy to carry like on you.
Glass is the best.
I think so too.
Oh, but just if you're going to freeze something, don't screw the cap down.
Yeah.
Leave it loose.
Or leave
set
some
it on
space
top. Yeah.
too, like you
Yeah.
know.
Just
That's
so you don't break the. I've done that before.
part of the hack. You know what's funny is my hashtag, I didn't come up with it obviously, but like refuse single use. So one time I was like, "Oh, look at this glass bottle I got." And like literally the minute I stepped out of my car, the first time that I filled it up, it broke and I was on the beach, like in the beach parking lot. And felt so horrible because I'm like, "Oh my
How am I
gosh, now
gonna
there's all
clean
these
this
people
up?
that are barefoot."
Oh.
So, like
Well, I
it
guess
is
if
my
glass
favorite.
makes you nervous, then stainless steel. I don't know.
Stainless steel, definitely the way to go. But it like glass in itself is just such a beautiful item, and
No,
it
it
lasts
is.
forever. So
I love my mason
It's also
jar
made
love.
from sand.
yes,
Ooh.
which is something. It's like mirrors. It's so magical.
Yeah, it is magical. Glass is magical. And remember when marine debris at the beach meant coconut leaves and palm fronds and seaweed?
sea
And like
glass.
now it's just
Plastic.
Lighters,
unbelievable.
tips
Here.
of Swisher sweets, bottle
my
caps,
gosh.
cigarette butts.
The last time I had a long walk with a friend of mine who's a marine biologist on the beach here in Santa Monica, which was like last year, an actual long walk together on a weekend, I started picking up washed up plastic sunglasses and single flip-flops and stuff like that while we were walking, and then realized there was way too much for me to pick up. Like I picked that up in, walking not even a quarter of a mile. And then I saw that there were piles of them a little bit higher up on the beach. So other people were grabbing them too. I also saw other women and other kids cleaning things up. And I thought, what is going on
It's
here?
so
Not to say
crazy.
that cleanup's a bad idea, because I think you can really learn
Yeah,
from cleanup,
that makes
especially if you add brand audit data.
Yes.
Ooh, I don't know about
I'm
that.
really
What's
excited
brand
about
audit
that.
data?
So the 5 Gyres and Greenpeace have really been trying to put responsibility on the producers, right? So Coca-Cola and all these other companies will brag about how many products they sell each year. So they're like, we sell 3 billion, these
This,
per
that,
year.
The other.
But it's all output, right? So they're all just looking at their numbers and how much they're putting out there, but there's no sort of recovery effort for it. And again, like a lot of these items that we're buying are ending up in other countries where they don't even have the infrastructure to deal with it, or the main way to deal with it is burning it. So,
We helped create a group called Break Free from Plastic. It's a movement.
yes.
And 5 Gyres is part of it, but so is Algalita. So there are 1,200 groups now, but it was
Awesome.
originally, I think, 40. And we created this together. And yes, it is mainly driven by Greenpeace, but they've come up with this brand audit, which is good. It keeps getting refined. And it's basically taking the beach cleanup data and the beach cleanup information that's pretty much been held and organized and seated with Ocean Conservancy, and taking that information and adding a whole component to it where you do brand identification.
Right, because you can tell where these products are coming from.
Right. Well,
Do you
and
send
what
it
that
back to them?
what
'Cause
that
that'd be
allows,
great.
some people send it back to them, but what it really allows is it allows you to turn around and share that information with these companies and say, hey, Coca-Cola, Nestle's, Unilever, you've got a problem. You need to redesign the packaging that you're using, and you need to come up with a way to take 100% of it back.
Well, I think that this leads to a very simple and basic life hack that obviously is not being used, and it's probably the simplest one. Just put everything in the trash.
No.
Just put things in the trash, though. If they were in the trash, they wouldn't be on the beach.
Yeah, but if you put things in the trash, hang on. So wait. We have to talk about
Well,
this.
Goes into the
recycling.
storm drain.
But
somewhere-
okay, so let's talk about
somewhere
let's talk about
besides-
all these things for a
Right,
second,
yeah.
because there's a lot of people working on it.
Okay.
First of all, in the United States, as of 2014, 2017, we recycle less than 9% of all of the
Right.
plastic that
Which
we
is
use.
crazy.
Like,
'Cause
so
it-
get your head around that. Less than 9%.
Yeah,
That's
one out of
insane.
every
'Cause
10
to all of
products
us that
gets
think,
recycled. Actually
we're
recycled
like putting
and turned
stuff
into a
in
new
recycling
project.
bins, or we're putting it. Yeah.
So
And then you learn
so
that.
you
We can't
ta- you-
recycle our way out of this problem.
No,
No.
we can't.
Okay.
And so take that in,
Right.
absorb
Yeah,
that.
that's
And
crazy.
then because of what's called the China sword, which is China saying we're not going to take your recycling anymore,
Right.
which a bunch of countries were exporting their plastic waste to China. They said that. Since they said that, the projections by our friend Jan Dell, who's a chemical engineer who's been working with us with Plastic Pollution Coalition, her projections that were by the end of 2018, our recycling rates in the United States would drop to 4.4%. And by the end of this year, 2019, they will drop to 2.6%.
So why are they dropping?
They're dropping because there's a situation that's been created where materials don't have value. In particular, plastic doesn't have value. Plastic is not a valued material. It is cheaper to make new plastic.
Yeah.
And even when you use recycled plastic in
Crazy.
things, you have to add virgin material to it to make the polymer chain strong enough to use it again.
So basically, okay, so if I take
I-
back
And it often
if
gets
I take
downgraded,
back
too.
my hack, then we're coming back to refusing plastic.
The best thing you can do for your health before it ever becomes a waste management issue is just not use it in the first place.
Not use it.
True.
And if we relate it back to the topic of the day, the simple. Well, here's my question for you. If we bring it back to the topic, when you leave the house, because I feel like this is where everyone starts. It's like first it was bags. They're like, I always forget my bag, and now I'm at the market already. I'll just get my bag. So it's the same thing. So your habit. What do you have when you leave the house? What's your go-to? Do you
So
put it in your purse? Do you have a separate bag? What's your
I bring a cup with me.
go-to hack? Yeah.
This is made by Hydro Flask, but I have a lot of different kinds of cups. But I bring this one. It's insulated, so I can put hot or cold drinks in it, and I love it. I bring that with me. I always carry bamboo utensils that have a fork, knife, spoon, and chopsticks. I like straws, so I carry a stainless steel reusable straw that I slide into my to-go-wear kit. I
Yep.
was just given a really beautiful one that is copper colored too. Super cool. I carry a vintage handkerchief that I found that's dark blue with a pattern on it, and I use that as a napkin.
Great.
I've even used it to blow my nose, and then I wash it.
Oh my gosh, you
Yeah.
can do that?
It's this cool
You
thing.
mean you can wash something and use it again? It's crazy.
I carry a little fold-up Chico bag with me, or a bag like that is small. That I really love these mini Chicos that they had for a while because they were so tiny, and then they'd pop up, and you always had a bag with you. I try to keep canvas bags or baskets in the back of the car.
Yes.
On the back of the door if I'm going to go out and grab the bike or walk somewhere to a market. And you really are teaching yourself new behavior. Although I don't think that the responsibility to solve this entire problem lies with us as individuals.
This
I
is
like
true.
the culture hack of that because I like helping share and empower with people how to reduce their personal plastic footprint.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the way that we're going to create change is also going to come from pushing for extended producer responsibility from companies,
Mm-hmm.
not purchasing things from companies that are packaging everything in plastic. And you know what? Letting them know and letting markets know. I've always I can't buy anything at Trader Joe's anymore.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say, because Trader
Yeah.
Joe's for me is the cheapest place that's the kind of best for a
Good.
whole family.
Right.
Right. But
We live in Southern California
Yeah.
and we're super lucky. We can go to open farmers markets almost every day
this
of the
is
week.
true.
All
This is
year,
true. Yeah,
all
yeah.
year, which is different than I'm not trying to put this on people who live in the
Anywhere else. Yeah, yeah.
in a place where they have a
We're
really
s-
hard winter.
Yeah.
But we can go to the market and we can buy beautiful. I love the Finley Brothers, Weiser Farms, like Harry's Berries, all
Yeah.
of these companies that are. You go with your own basket and your own bag. And
And you can
the
go
other
home
day I
with
went
a
on
bunch of
Sunday and bought 12 different kinds of lettuce.
Ooh.
I mean, how awesome is that?
See, my goal is to be a person that eats like I'll buy this stuff and then like a week later I'm like, oh, I wanted to make that kale salad.
Dang
Well,
it.
at least I'm composting it. But
Well,
I have
we
one
do
more
have
thing
a
to say.
food episode coming up.
We
can
do.
Get in. I have a hack for you when we get to that one.
Well, and I was going to say, whenever we talk about the hacks, we always talk about things to go, right? Because we're so busy. We're always on the go. We're between driving kids to school, taking the bus, going to work, whatever, going to the gym. But there's things in our own home that we can do. Like at some point, we all entertain. Michelle, I know that you love to entertain. And so there are some simple alternatives there too. Like we're so used to just getting, like, let's say a kegger, right?
Right.
Like the ubiquitous solo cup. That's like a regular thing. But what if I told you that if you are going to have a party, instead of doing a keg with, where you buy the plastic cups, you're better off buying bottled beer in aluminum or beer in like a glass. Like those are simple things that you can do when hosting a party that will generate less waste because those things can be recycled. You can put this in your blue bin. So it's not necessarily just like on the go. Or say you do have a kegger, right? Like you can just use real cups or use mugs or whatever it is. Like there's things that you can do in your home. Like it's not always
I'm
on
a
the
big
go.
fan of secondhand stores and vintage, like thrift stores. And you can also go find great cups and glasses and just buy a bunch and mix match them or look for a particular thematically, look for 70s ones or whatever
Yeah.
your style is that you
Yeah.
like. And then just have a bunch of those.
Asking people to bring their own. I know that I've been to a lot of events lately, hosted by the city of Santa Monica, for instance, and in the email it will say, our goal is to make this, event more sustainable. Please bring your own cup. So I think putting
And
those
they've
reminders.
been doing that on sets. There's
Yeah.
certain people that have been doing that on film sets
Yeah, so if
for
you
the
work
crew.
if you work in an industry like that's something that you could put into your production log or the call sheet. Like, hey, we're trying to make this more sustainable. Bring your own reusable water bottle. Bring your own cup. And by putting those reminders there, then people will eventually start picking up on it. And maybe they won't remember every time, but they might remember every other time.
We have 3 blog posts on our not the resources section of the Plastic Pollution Coalition website, but the news section that have been written, one by a commercial director who's based in Venice about reducing the plastic footprint on his set and the reminders that they send out in advance. Another one written by a woman who has a catering company for film and television and how she does it. And then another one written by a man who's doing photo shoots and setting up photo shoots and how to do this. And it's available to people, which I love, just for free.
You'll have to share that.
Sure.
And maybe
Happy
you
to.
can't host a completely plastic-free party, but make a commitment. Like choose one item that is easy for you and that you can do. So like, for example, if I'm going to have a party, I'm going to choose to use real wine glasses. Why? Because I think wine tastes better out of a real glass than a plastic little cup. So maybe I am going to have plastic cups for the kids or something like that, but not all of it. No, not me. I'm just saying. I'm
She's like,
speaking
"Don't
if I'm
do
somebody
it."
else. Maybe somebody else.
No.
But you know
Get
what I'm
little
saying?
ones like that for the kids.
True, but
Well,
focusing on
kids,
progress rather than perfection,
Right.
right? So like it can't be all 100 completely plastic free, but there are certain things that can be. So just at least sticking to that, finding how easy it is, and then just next time you host another party, making it a little bit
But
different.
here's the thing. Why do people save good china? Why do people save
Yes.
things and never use them? Like, isn't it more loving and beautiful when you have a gathering with friends or family over to get out everything you have and use real stuff?
Yeah.
I mean,
Agreed.
yes, it creates more work.
It's more
You've got to
work.
wash it afterwards, but I think it's done in a way that's very loving and thoughtful and frankly just a more beautiful aesthetic experience for people. I am at also at a thrift store, I found brand new a bunch of linen, napkins, cotton napkins that were really beautiful, that were, again, a dark pattern, like a tartan kind of pattern. And I just bought them all, and we use them for events all the time. When you come to our Plastic Pollution Coalition monthly lunches,
Those were great.
Those are our napkins.
Super easy.
Yeah.
Super easy. And I have
easy to
one
do.
more.
One more.
I know we're
Okay.
running out of time.
And then we'll
Because we're
wrap it
talking
up.
about individual action. We're talking about reaching out to corporations and asking them to take responsibility. But I think that a lot of us are also part of a lot of larger groups in our community, whether it's a religious organization or, the Girl Scouts or whatever it is. So I think about, for example, church. How many people go to church, synagogue, whatever it is, and there's always something afterwards, right? There's like the little coffee break. That's a good opportunity where you can get your whole community engaged. So rather than just reaching out to these cup manufacturers, you can go to your pastor, your, rabbi, whatever it is, and be like, hey, would you guys mind putting a little reminder at the, little pamphlet or something like, hey, we'd love you, we'd love for you to join us after the 10 a.m. Mass for coffee or whatever. Please bring your own cup. Even if not everybody brings them, stop buying those expanded polystyrene cups that are horrible. I remember when I was younger, I used to love them, and I used to
Me
bite
too,
them
and pull them apart. I used to pull them
Bite
apart
them
into
until
little
it pulls
pieces. Oh, bite
flat.
them, and you can put your teeth marks in
Yeah.
them.
Bite until it's
Deanna's
Me
face
too.
is
No,
like,
me too. It's just so sad.
But
It's crazy.
But
yeah.
if
It's so
the truth-
sad. We didn't even know.
We had no idea. Yeah.
Our
We didn't.
parents didn't know either.
No.
But I think that's a great way to impact more people all at once. And so if you reach out to that part of your community and they're like, hey, we're not going to buy these cups anymore, maybe they'll switch to paper ones. But there's always one little change, and knowing why you're making that change can lead to another change. And then once you know better there, then you make another change. So I think again, it's not, we can all bring our own cups, but let's inspire others to do better, because now that we know better, we can choose better, and we have so many options. We didn't before. Now we've got Amazon. It's there's it's not difficult to get. You can't just say oh, well, they didn't have those at Smart and Final. It's well, there's other options. So I encourage you to really connect with other communities that you're a part of and ask them to make those changes. And it's simple. It's really simple.
It's simple.
I agree.
All right.
It's a great idea.
Let's do it. All right. Time for a break. Hot Mobile Disco is proud to be an official sponsor of this podcast. At Hot Mobile Disco, we believe that working towards a zero waste future is as important as a good tune. That is why we are making playlists with featured artists for each episode. If you liked what you heard today on this episode, visit our website at hotmobiledisco.com. That's HAUTE, mobiledisco.com, and look for the hashtag Zero Waste Lifehacker. There you will find the name of the artists and various playlists around today's theme of cups. We are back from this break where we just can't stop talking with Dianna. And she had a great story about...
Do you want me to tell it
Tell
really
it,
fast? Yeah.
because-
So I was driving up the 5 to San Francisco from Los Angeles, and I stopped at an AM PM mini mart, to get gas for my car. And I walk in with my reusable cup, and I'm like, hi. I was wondering if I could get a beverage in my own cup that's not in plastic. What are my choices? And the woman behind the cash register said, well, you can go to the soda fountain, you could get coffee, you could get tea. So I went and got some iced tea with ice, came up to pay for it. I said, how much is that? And she said, I don't know, that'll be $1. And I said, okay, great, thank you. Here you go. And I said, do you mind if I ask how much it would have cost if I didn't bring my own cup? And she said, oh yeah, it would have been $1.99.
So,
So you save money.
Yeah, and if I were regularly driving up and down
crazy.
the 5, I would be saving a lot of money at
Yeah.
each stop. So.
Wow, that's nuts.
And
There
that
you
adds
go.
up. That
It
adds up,
does.
especially when there's multiple, right? Like if you have a family, Michelle and I each have kids, so I think we're even more aware of it because everything is times 3.
Right.
It's not just one soda. It's 3 sodas. It's 3
Oh my
waters.
gosh.
It's 3.
And they never drink it all.
Well, and so what you can also do with a reusable cup is you can get 1 drink or 2 drinks and then pour it off into your smaller,
into the
cool little
yep,
travel
yep.
steel cup that you've got for the kids.
Yep.
No one needs the super size me.
No.
No.
Nobody.
Nobody.
We just want to say thank you so much for
Thank
coming. Dianna is the best. I've known her forever, and I always love running into you out in the world. And so thank you. And hopefully we can bring you back.
I hope so. And thank you for all the great music.
It's been great. Sophia, thank you for hosting.
Aw, thank you.
We want to give some plugs. Where can people find information or find out more about the coalition? or what do you want to let people know
We
about?
would like everyone in the world to join the coalition,
Yeah.
and it's currently free. And that would be at plasticpollutioncoalition.org.
Awesome.
And you can also follow us we're on Twitter and Instagram at Plastic Pollutes with an S at the end. And you can also find us on Facebook, and we're Plastic Pollution Coalition.
Yeah.
Yay.
Definitely follow for information, insight, knowledge,
Guides,
inspiration.
One sheets. Oh, we didn't
Yeah.
even talk about the baby guide. There's a
Oh
healthy
my
baby guide.
gosh.
We didn't even talk about festivals.
Oh my
we
gosh.
need
Cups
to-
at festivals.
Okay, that's 2 more episodes coming at ya. We're gonna bring Dianna back.
I'm happy to come back. See you soon.
Oh my gosh. We'd also like to thank our listeners and our Patreon backers for helping to make this possible.
We couldn't do it without you.
I couldn't do it without you. Also, we just are asking you to follow our hashtag, which is #ZeroWasteLifeHacker, and share with us some of your simple solutions and
It's
life
a plastic
hacks.
pollution.
Yeah.
Ow!
And then we'll repost, we'll share, maybe even talk about some of them, our favorite ones here. And that's it. Otherwise, visit zerowasteco.com. Sophia will do a blog post about this episode and some of the good points we came across. So you don't have to listen to us every time. You could just read about it. But listen to us at least once or twice and then go read about it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Until next time.